What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NFL slate on DraftKings for Week 10. We do have 11 games on the Week 10 slate. Going to do my best to go over this slate as much as I can, talk about some of my favorite plays at each position at quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, even defense. I'll talk about some of my favorite options, the studs, the mid-tier plays, and the value plays I see. Of course, I'll give my 5 core plays. These are 5 guys that I expect to have a lot of exposure to across my tournament lineups. I expect to be over the field on these guys. So let's start off at quarterback. Just before we do get started, would appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe if you have not already. If you enjoy these videos, I make them every week, so I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. But yeah, let's look at quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, to no surprise, our top quarterback. He's 7,200, getting a matchup at home against the Cardinals. Pretty straightforward here. If I can fit in Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to play him. Don't really care what the matchup is. Mahomes has been the best fantasy quarterback all year. He's been the most consistent fantasy quarterback. Hasn't put up less than 20 DraftKings points all year. Last 4 games, he's put up at least 30 DraftKings points. Dude's just been a total stud. The game stays competitive. Mahomes is probably going to throw for 3 touchdowns, if not 3 touchdowns, and then run one in. Great option if you can fit him in. If there's a lot of value that opens up as the week goes on, maybe I'll try and find more salary to get up to Mahomes. But right now, I feel like I'm not going to go too crazy on Mahomes. Like if he's going to be 15-20% owned, I'll probably have a little bit more than that, but I don't see myself going insanely heavy on Mahomes. I do like some of the cheaper options at quarterback, but if you do want to look in the mid-range, I think Jared Goff at home against Seattle is for sure in play at 6,100. Also Tom Brady at 6K. Against the Titans, I do like as well. But the values where I really want to go here. So I like Ryan Fitzpatrick at home against the Redskins. I think he is in a really good spot at 5,900. Andy Dalton as well. Love this matchup for Andy Dalton at 5,800. He's one of my core quarterbacks for this week. I expect to have a lot of exposure to Andy Dalton. I expect to be over the field on him. I know the Bengals are going to be without A.J. Green, so I would say that is a bit of a downgrade for Andy Dalton. But he's still really cheap for this matchup at home against the Saints. A Saints team that really hasn't had a good defense all year, hasn't really been able to stop the pass. We've seen the Saints be in a lot of shootouts so far this year, and I think this game has potential to shoot out as well. Really like this spot for Dalton. I think we easily get 20-plus DraftKings points. At 5,800, he's probably one of my favorite cheaper quarterbacks. Him and Fitzpatrick. And I also do like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield down here at 5,400. In a good spot as well. He gets to face the Falcons at home. Baker Mayfield definitely in play for me. Him, Dalton, and Fitzpatrick, I see myself going to in a lot of lineups this week. And then if I'm trying to pay up, or if I can pay up, it's for sure going to be Mahomes. I try to fit in. Like Rodgers against the Dolphins, sure you could go there. I think I'd rather just try and get up to Mahomes. Same could be said for Breeze and Ryan. I don't see myself playing having a ton of exposure to these guys because I'll just try and find the salary to get up Mahomes. So quarterback for me this week is kind of straightforward. Going to try and go cheap, but if I can fit in Mahomes, we'll for sure be doing that. But let's move on to running back. This is a position always try and pay up. Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Kamara, Hunt, Mixon, even James White lately. These dudes just have so much upside. Could easily go out and get 30-plus DraftKings points. One of the most consistent fantasy running backs all year has been Todd Gurley. Had his worst game of the year last year, but I'm going right back to Todd Gurley here. Against Seattle, just a great spot to play Gurley. Home favorite. He's going to get massive volume, a ton of carries, going to be involved in the passing game. His worst game of the year, like I said, came last week against the Saints, and he still put up 19.9 DraftKings points. We're going to see a bounce-back game from Gurley. I think he gets in the end zone at least twice, if not 3 times. Love Todd Gurley here. Price dropped a little bit, 9,400. Maybe since he's coming off a bad game, or quote-unquote a bad game, people will get off of him, but I'm going to be right back on Todd Gurley. I expect him to be one of my highest owned players again this week. Dude just has massive upside. You could go to Melvin Gordon for cheaper, but I think I'd just rather play Gurley. Gurley's just been so safe. His touchdowns have been there all year. Gordon's been able to score touchdowns as well. I do see myself having some Melvin Gordon, but I will definitely be a lot higher on Todd Gurley this week than Melvin Gordon. And like Kamara, Hunt are just kind of in no man's land for me. So at 87 and 8,500, I don't see myself going too crazy on them. I think I kind of with quarterback, like I'd rather just pay up or find the $1,000, get up to Gurley or even Melvin Gordon. I think I'd rather play Melvin Gordon over Kamara and Hunt this week. Running back for me probably is, like, I'd rank the top 4 how they are. So I'd go Gurley 1, Gordon 2, Kamara 3, Hunt 4. Kareem Hunt's kind of a guy that I haven't really been on a ton lately, or just as these last few weeks have gone on. The volume just has been kind of inconsistent. I know he scored 3 touchdowns last week, but I think he was at he had 6 or 7 touches and still managed to put up 3 touchdowns. Kind of a little lucky. I see some regression coming for Kareem Hunt. I don't think he's going to continue to put up these massive games. And with him getting priced up to $8,500, I'd just rather go elsewhere. Honestly, might even take the savings off of Kareem Hunt, go down to Joe Mixon. If Sony Michel is out again, James White at $7,300 just feels a little underpriced. I do like those guys. But in the mid-range, there's some strong plays here. Adrian Peterson, love this spot for him at $5,700. He's going to be facing a really bad Bucs defense. A Bucs defense that just hasn't been able to stop anybody through the pass or through the run. Great bounce-back spot for Adrian Peterson. He was pretty poor last week, pretty bad. Just 9 carries for 17 yards, 3 catches for 16 yards, 6.3 DraftKings points last week against the Falcons. I'm expecting a big bounce-back game for Peterson. Even though the Redskins are going to be without some of their starting O-linemen, I still think we see Peterson get in the end zone at least once, if not twice here. Anytime the Redskins are ahead and they're trying to kill the clock, they're just going to feed Adrian Peterson. He's got some games this year, he's gotten close to 30 touches, got 27 touches against the Giants, 25 against Dallas. Dude gets massive volume. I know he's not involved in the passing game a ton, but with how much carries he gets, definitely in play for me, especially with the $5,700 price tag. You could play Nick Chubb for $200 less if you feel a little bit safer with Nick Chubb. Really good matchup for Chubb against the Falcons. Falcons haven't been able to stop running backs all year. We know they funnel a lot of targets to running backs. We usually see running backs get a lot of targets when they face the Falcons. We'll talk about Duke Johnson in a second. I think he is a really good value running back, especially for tournaments. But if you do like Nick Chubb here at $5,500, I could see going to him over Peterson. I think I would prefer Peterson, but Chubb I will probably have some exposure to. But let's talk about the value. So I really like Duke Johnson this week, $4,700 against the Falcons. Definitely not point chasing here. I know Johnson had a good game last week, and people are probably going to say, you're only playing Johnson this week because he had a good game last week. It's not really the reason. He did play about the same amount of snaps as he has been playing so far this year, but he was just a lot more involved in the offense. Got 9 targets last week, 9 targets, 9 catches for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. Did get a rushing attempt as well. But like I said, the Falcons, they funnel targets to running backs. I'm expecting Duke Johnson to get a lot of targets here. I feel like he's going to be open a ton. Just a lot of opportunity for Duke Johnson in this spot. With him getting priced up to $4,700, I don't see him being massively popular this week, even though he's coming off a really good game. With the price increase, people will probably shy away, but I really like this matchup for Duke Johnson. I really like this spot for him. And especially if the Browns are playing from behind, they're trying to catch up. If the Falcons put up a lot of points and the Browns are playing catch up, then Duke Johnson will be on the field a ton and will be soaking up a lot of targets. Really like him at $4,700. You do have Jordan Howard at the same price tag, who I think is a really good value option as well. At home against the Lions, a Lions team that really has been really bad against the run. I do like Jordan Howard at the same price. I think I would prefer Duke Johnson, but Jordan Howard definitely in play. And that's really it for running back value that I like. So let's move on to wide receiver. Do have some options up top here who I think are playable, but I don't see myself having massive exposure to these guys. So you got Julio against the Browns, $8,300. You got Michael Thomas coming off a monster game last week. He gets a matchup this week against the Bengals on the road. And I don't see myself going too crazy on these guys. I think like in the 7K, 6K range, there are stronger plays. Tyler Boyd, $7,500. I really like pairing him with Andy Dalton if you can. But we did use a lot of salary at running back, so I'm going to go a little bit cheaper at receiver with my final core play. But I do like Tyler Boyd. I expect him to see massive amount of volume with A.J. Green out. If he doesn't get at least 10 targets, I would be very surprised. Love Boyd here, $7,500. Did get priced up, but definitely worth that price tag with A.J. Green not playing this game. So Boyd's probably one of my favorite pay-up receivers. Maybe like Mike Evans at 7K. Probably going to see a lot of Josh Norman in this game, but Mike Evans is still going to get a ton of targets. He got 10 targets last week. They were pretty inefficient, just 1 catch, I believe, but still got 10 targets. Evans' volume is going to be there every week at 7K. I do like him. But there is some value that I like at running back, or not at running back, a receiver, excuse me. Do want to touch on 2 or 3 mid-tier plays, though, before we get to the value. So from the Lions, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, I think these are going to be guys we're looking at rest of season pretty much every week, especially if they remain cheap. Jones, probably the guy I want over Golladay, but both guys are in play for me. With Golden Tate on the Eagles now, these dudes are going to see a massive amount of volume. Jones got 8 targets last week, I believe, and Kenny Golladay, I believe, got 4 or 5. I think we're going to see about 8-9 targets a week from Marvin Jones. Galladay's probably going to get a little bit less than that, but it could vary week to week. We could see Jones get less targets. We could see Golladay get more targets. 55 and 5,100, I like both of them as mid-tier plays. I feel like the volume's just going to be there. But now talking about the value. So at 4,900, Deshaun Jackson with Fitzpatrick at quarterback. I was very high on D-Jax last week against the Panthers with Fitzpatrick in. He had a really bad game, just 2 catches for 32 yards, just 4 targets. We're going to see a bounce-back game from D-Jax. I like him at 4,900 here, especially if you think Josh Norman locks up Mike Evans, maybe gives him a little bit of trouble. That could open up some opportunity and targets for D-Jax at 4,900. He's a value option that I do like if you're trying to go cheap. Tyrell Williams has been getting in the end zone lately, scoring he scored 4 touchdowns the last 3 games, but the targets haven't been insane, just 3, 4, 4, and 3 targets. But Tyrell Williams in tournaments, we know he has that big play ability, can run down the field. Like this spot for Tyrell Williams. All you really need him to do is catch a long touchdown, and he's going to pay off his price tag. That's what he's been doing lately, catching long touchdowns. I know he caught one in that Tennessee game. I believe he caught one in that Cleveland game as well. Might have even got 2 of them. 29, 24, and 10 DraftKings points last 3 games. Don't play Tyrell Williams in cash games, but in tournaments with his big playability, I do like him at 4,500. And then another guy with a lot of big playability that I see myself going to a lot this week is John Ross. He's only 3,900. Really like John Ross here. Just like some of these Cincinnati receivers because they are going to be very thin at receiver. If we just pull up their depth chart, we already know A.J. Green's going to be out. So Tyler Boyd, I'm expecting to get massive volume. I think John Ross going to see a lot of targets as well. Even Erickson, Josh Malone, Cody Core, these guys could be on the field some as well. Don't think I'm probably going to go to them because I think they're a bit thin. But John Ross, Tyler Boyd, I expect to see massive amount of targets. When we go to tight end, we'll talk about Uzoma. I expect Uzoma to be on the field a ton, have to catch the ball a lot as well. I expect him to see some targets. But going back to John Ross, this is a guy that I really like in tournaments. We know he has that big playability, one of the fastest receivers in the league. He's listed as questionable on DraftKings, but he's expected to play this week against the Saints, and I think we see a pretty big game from John Ross. I think the targets are going to be there. Andy Dalton's got to throw to somebody, and I think Boyd and Ross are going to soak up a lot of those targets that A.J. Green would have gotten. So he's one of my favorite value receivers, 3,900, especially if he's going to be low owned this week. I expect myself to be way over the field on John Ross. So I think that's it for receiver. Let's quickly go over tight end and defense before we get out of here. So tight end, always try and go a little bit cheaper. You could pay up for Kelsey at $7K. It's kind of the same thing goes with Mahomes. Like, I want to pay up for Kelsey. I want to pay up for Mahomes. It's just, will I be able to is the question. If I can find the salary to fit in Kelsey, I'll try and do it. But the cheaper options I like are definitely in this 4K range. Love this spot for David Njoku at home against the Falcons. Great matchup. 4,200, I think Njoku, a really good tight end option. I see myself having a ton of exposure to him. C.J. Uzoma as well will be in a lot of my lineups at 3,700. Really, the Bengals don't have anybody to catch the ball besides Ross and Tyler Boyd, so Uzoma is going to be on the field a lot, and he's going to soak up some of those A.J. Green targets. And at 3,700, I think he is in play as a value tight end if you want to go to him. Really like him. Really like Njoku. Maybe some Jared Cook as well at 4,700. O.J. Howard, see myself having a little exposure to, but mostly Njoku and Uzoma. I really like at this tight end position. And then quickly going over defense for this week. So you can always pay up at defense for options like the Bears if you want to go there. The Bills have been absolutely terrible this year. Just playing defenses against the Bills has worked out pretty much all year. So the Jets are probably my favorite pay-up defense at home against the Bills. Really good spot for the Jets. But I try and go cheap at defense if I can. So looking for cheaper defenses. I think the Colts at home against Blake Bortles, who's just not a good quarterback. Do like the spot for the Colts at 2,800 if you want to consider them. The Patriots get to face the Titans, whose offense has just been really struggling lately. Don't mind the Patriots here. The Rams at 2,400, probably my favorite paydown defense. Just a good spot at home against the Seattle team that we know his offense has been a little up and down this year. Russell Wilson been getting sacked a ton this year. Been turning the ball over as well. So at 2,400, really like the Rams here. I think they're going to be probably my highest owned defense. Just too cheap for the spot at home against a pretty bad Seattle offense. Love the Rams as a value defense. But that's probably it for defense for me. The defenses I plan on being pretty heavy on. I think that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this Week 10 video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, just make sure you click that like button before you get out of here. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can leave any comments down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and good luck this week on the Week 10 slate. Peace.